The swinging doors of the saloon swung open, and a cold wind rushed in, carrying with it 3 outlaws, who looked like they just stepped out from the pages of a wanted poster. They were led by a man known only as One-Eyed Jack. He got his name not from a lack of romantic prospects, but because he was the only living member of his gang to retain an eye, after a botched robbery in San Francisco left him blinded on one side. Now seeking revenge, One-Eyed Jack had assembled a new crew and was looking to make a name for himself. Behind the bar, wiping down a glass, was none other than Dixie Belle, a former sharpshooter known for her lightning-fast draw and even faster trigger finger. But these days she was more interested in mixing drinks than making shots. That was until the outlaws walked through the door. "All right, Bells, we're going to need some drinks, and you're going to pour them slow and pretty. Hear me," One-Eyed Jack said. As he slid onto a bar stool, he gestured with his head toward a young woman sitting at the end of the bar. "And you there, doll? You come with me?" Dixie shot a sharp look at Jack, but before she could respond, 2 of his men had already closed in on the girl, forcing her off her stool and into the dusty street. It was then that Dixie noticed the pistol tucked into the waistband of the nearest outlaw. "Hey, if you want your drinks, you can have them, but you're going to have to let her go." The outlaws laughed, thinking this saloon girl was just trying to be a hero. "Oh, we were just playing with her, lady. No need to get your panties in a bunch." The outlaw holding the girl shoved her forward with his elbow. "Now come on, doll. Don't make this harder than it has to be." But the girl didn't move. Instead, she glared defiantly at the outlaws. Dixie watched the interaction, her gaze fixed on the young woman being harassed by the outlaws. She knew that. Look anywhere. It was the same defiant look that had been seared into Dixie's own reflection in the countless mirrors lining the walls of the shooting gallery she had called home for most of her life. For Dixie had been an expert shot since before she was a teenager. She had traveled from town to town, honing her skills and collecting trophies to prove her dominance. Men had scoffed when she first picked up a gun, believing a woman's place was behind a rifle or behind the bar. But Dixie had proven them wrong again and again, each bullet hole in a wanted poster being another notch in her gun and another lesson learned. But as the years went on, the thrill of the competition began to wear off. Eventually, she tired of the endless cycle of practice, competition, and celebration. So she hung up her gun, poured all her winnings into buying this saloon, and hoped to settle down. Unfortunately for her, settling down wasn't as easy as hoping for it, and she was about to find out just how true that was. "All right, enough of this," Dixie suddenly snapped. She banged a bottle on the bar, startling the outlaws. "You 3 are leaving right now. Right now I don't want any trouble, so why don't you just walk out that door and don't ever come back?" The outlaws burst into laughter, thinking the little saloon girl was joking. "What makes you think we're scared of you, lady? You think those big jugs are going to scare us off?" One-Eyed Jack guffawed. But his laughter cut short when Dixie slammed her hand on the bar. In a flash, she had grabbed the bottle of whiskey she had been holding and hurled it at the nearest outlaw, hitting him square in the face. The bottle shattered on impact, sending shards flying everywhere and whiskey cascading down the outlaw's face. He howled in pain, momentarily stunned by the sudden attack. Dixie wasted no time capitalizing on her opening. With a speed that defied her age and gender, she darted from behind the bar, snatched up the fallen bottle, and charged at the remaining 2 outlaws. One-Eyed Jack tried to pull his gun, but Dixie was quicker. She swung the bottle like a bat and smashed it into the side of his head. The bottle hit its mark, connecting solidly with a sickening crunch. The force of the blow sent Jack staggering backward, clutching at his head as he stumbled toward the floor. His vision blurred and a hot trickle of blood began running down his forehead. Meanwhile, his other accomplice was frozen in place, his eyes wide with disbelief as he watched Dixie turn the bottle in her hands like a deadly weapon. Before he could react, Dixie brought the bottle down on him, connecting with a resounding smack that echoed through the silent saloon. The impact sent the outlaw sprawling backwards, crashing into the table between them and sending glasses and bottles scattering across the floor. Dazed and disoriented, the young woman finally found her footing and fled the saloon without another word. "That's right, kiddo. Get out of here," Dixie shouted after her. Then she turned her steely gaze back to the outlaws. "Now you were saying?" Dixie asked sweetly. One-Eyed Jack shook his head, dazed and confused. His vision swam and the room seemed to spin around him. In panic he reached for his gun, but his hand came up empty. Furious and embarrassed, he scrambled around, desperately searching for his weapon, but it was nowhere to be found. In the struggle to regain his balance, he knocked over a chair, sending it crashing to the ground. Startled by his outburst, a patron finally called out, "Hey, what's going on here? Do I want to break it up?" Seeing their advantage, the remaining outlaws scrambled to their feet and ran for the hills. As One-Eyed Jack stumbled out the door, he glared back at Dixie. His voice was hoarse and filled with hatred. "This ain't over, lady. You'll pay for this." With that, he disappeared into the chaos outside. Dixie sighed. Despite the adrenaline still coursing through her veins, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The outlaws' behavior was unhinged, their anger disproportionate to the situation. There was more to these men than met the eye, and Dixie was determined to get to the bottom of it. She turned to the patrons of her saloon, who were staring at her in awe. A hush had fallen over the room, broken only by the sound of their own ragged breathing and the echo of their own pounding hearts. After a moment, someone broke into applause, and soon the entire saloon erupted in cheers. To Dixie, the fastest draw in the West, they shouted, but Dixie's attention was focused elsewhere. She noticed the young woman standing hesitantly by the door, clutching her dress as if trying to pull it together. Something about her demeanor tugged at Dixie's heartstrings. She wiped the bar clean with a rag, her gaze unwavering. "I'm gonna go check on her," she said to the cheering crowd. As Dixie approached, the girl turned, revealing tearful eyes framed by unruly brown hair. "Are you all right?" Dixie asked gently, kneeling down to her level. The girl hesitated for a moment, then whispered, "My name is Mary. I am 16 years old. And these men, they threatened to take me away if I didn't do what they wanted. I thought you were going to help me, but now they're gone and I'm scared." Dixie pulled Mary into a tight embrace, understanding the terror the girl must have felt. "It's all right now," she murmured soothingly. "Those men aren't going to bother you anymore." She helped Mary to her feet and asked, "Do you have anyone here? A family member or friend?" "My mother," Mary replied, wiping away tears. "She works at the Golden Nugget Casino as a dealer." Dixie nodded. "Well, then that's where we're going." Taking Mary's hand, Dixie headed for the door, ready to escort her to safety. Upon arriving at the casino, Dixie found Mary's mother in the middle of a poker game. Relief washed over the woman's face as she saw her daughter safe and sound. "Mary, honey, are you all right?" she cried, rushing to her child and enveloping her in a hug. "Oh, thank God you're okay." Turning to Dixie, she said, "Ma'am, I can't thank you enough for helping her." "I owe you one," but Dixie waved her concerns away. "Don't mention it. It was my pleasure." However, deep down, Dixie couldn't shake off the unease that had been gnawing at her since the outlaw's visit. As she turned to leave, Mary's mother stopped her. "Wait, ma'am," she said, handing Dixie an envelope. "Here, please take this. It's the least I can do." Curious, Dixie opened the envelope and gasped. Inside was a pile of gold coins, heavy and valuable. "Oh, I couldn't possibly accept this," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with surprise. But Mary's mother insisted, her gaze unwavering. "Take it, please. It's a small token of our gratitude." Overwhelmed, Dixie finally relented, accepting the coins with a grateful smile. "Thank you," she whispered, touched by the gesture. As Dixie made her way home that night, the events of the evening replayed in her mind. She couldn't help but wonder why the outlaws had targeted Mary and what their connection to the saloon was. Had they been watching her? Suddenly a memory surfaced, a detail from earlier in the day that she had dismissed as insignificant. One-Eyed Jack had arrived alone, but when he left, there had been an extra figure in the group. It was a man in a dark coat, his face hidden beneath the brim of his hat. Dixie had seen him slip into the crowd, but at the time she hadn't given it much thought. Could this mysterious man be the key to unraveling the puzzle? Determined to find answers, Dixie decided to visit the Golden Nugget Casino the next day, hoping to catch the eye of the law. The casino buzzed with activity as usual, the air thick with the scent of cigars and the murmur of conversation. Dixie stood at the bar, scanning the faces of the patrons, her gaze sharp and focused. Then she spotted him, the same man from yesterday, seated at a roulette table, his attention fully engaged in the game. Without drawing attention to herself, Dixie slipped into a nearby chair, placing her order with the bartender, her eyes never leaving the mysterious man. As she observed him, she noticed a peculiar habit he had. Every time he placed a bet, he wore a pair of gloves. It was a strange quirk, especially in the warm climate of Tombstone. What was he hiding? Just then, a familiar face approached the bar, Mary's mother. She greeted Dixie warmly, unaware of the latter's investigation. "So glad you could make it," she said, her tone laced with concern. "I heard about what happened last night. Are you all right?" Dixie nodded, knowing it was now or never. She leaned closer to Mary's mother, lowering her voice. "Do you know the man in the dark coat? The one who always wears gloves?" Startled by the sudden question, Mary's mother hesitated, her eyes flickering with uncertainty. I don't know what you're talking about," she replied cautiously. Dixie pressed on, sensing something was amiss. "He was with the Outlaws last night, the ones who attacked my saloon. I think he might have had something to do with it." A flicker of fear crossed Mary's mother's face, quickly replaced by a mask of indifference. "Outlaws? What are you talking about?" "This is a reputable casino. We don't entertain that sort of thing here," she stated firmly, averting her gaze. Dixie's suspicions grew. Something was definitely hidden beneath Mary's mother's facade. Determined to uncover the truth, Dixie decided to follow her. As Mary's mother moved through the casino, Dixie trailed closely behind, keeping a safe distance. She observed the subtle cues, the glances exchanged, the whispers uttered. Slowly, a sense of unease settled upon her. There was a network of deceit lurking beneath the surface of the casino, and she was determined to expose it. Finally, Mary's mother made her way to a secluded back room, disappearing from view. Dixie waited patiently, knowing that whatever secrets lay in that room would shed light on the darkness plaguing Tombstone. When the coast was clear, Dixie quietly slipped inside. The room was dimly lit, its purpose concealed by shadows. Then she saw it, a hidden door tucked away in a corner. With a sense of foreboding, she pushed it open. Behind the door lay a secret passage, its entrance concealed by a bookcase. Curiosity and determination battled within her, but the urgency to uncover the truth propelled her forward. She stepped inside. The tunnel was narrow, forcing her to stoop as she made her way through. The air was stale and heavy, carrying with it the scent of decay. Finally, she emerged into a small chamber. What she saw left her stunned. The room was filled with weapons, guns, knives, and other tools of the trade. In the center of it all sat the mysterious man from the casino, his face illuminated by a single candle. He turned slowly, revealing a face etched with years of hardship and deceit. "You shouldn't be here," he rasped, his voice like gravel. "Who are you?" Dixie demanded, her voice echoing in the chamber. The man stood, his eyes glinting with malice. I am the shadow that haunts your nightmares," he hissed. "You have stumbled upon secrets best left buried." Fear tightened its grip on Dixie, but she forced herself to stand firm. "Tell me who you are and what you're planning," she challenged. The man's lips curled into a sneer. "You cannot hope to understand," he said, advancing towards her. "Your world is built on sand, destined to crumble." With that, he lunged, and Dixie found herself in a desperate fight for survival. As the struggle intensified, Dixie realized that this man, this so-called mastermind, was nothing but a pawn in a larger game, a game orchestrated by forces beyond his comprehension. The revelation shook her, forcing her to confront the chilling reality that the darkness she had encountered in this secret chamber was merely a glimpse of a much greater evil lurking in the shadows of Tombstone. With adrenaline surging through her veins, Dixie fought back against the man, determined to escape his clutches and expose the sinister plot threatening her town.